Hi there, I'm Sipka, and this is the Apatros Review. Now, originally in this episode I was going to do a horror film. In fact, I was going to do a series of horror film reviews. But it's with great sadness that I have to announce that a dear family friend, somebody I've known for a long time, passed away this morning. I mean, the morning of the day this video was shot. His name was Yul Marbuo, and he was a dear family friend I've known for years. And he passed away from heart failure. He was pretty sick. He was in the hospital for a few days, and unfortunately, he didn't make it. But he was pretty old, and I won't give his exact age, but he was like in his 80s or 90s. And he lived a good life. And so I've decided to rejig my schedule a little bit and found a film, which normally I wouldn't cover exactly, but this film, which I actually watched on YouTube once, I had a copy of this on a public domain DVD set once, and wrote notes on it. And so I decided to put this one here for just to honor his memory, because doing a horror film is just not that sort of, it's not that respectful. Anyway, so in this episode we take a look at, and this is actually a pretty strange film. This is a film that, in fact, I think my friend would probably appreciate the irony here. This is a film it's actually a family-friendly film, sort of. And the director who made this is known for making other sorts of films. I'll get into that later. Anyway, now this film was produced in 1977, but first released on 29th of August 1979 in France. It was directed by Bethel Bacalou, written by Fred F. Finkelhoff and Bethel Bacalou. Finkelhoff, by the way, was actually dead for quite some time before this script was produced, and stars Jim Dandy, Ralph Meeker, Ida Lupino in her last role, and Lloyd Nolan, and also David F. Doyle. Now, the film is called My Boys Are Good Boys, which actually references a line of dialogue in the film. Okay, now, Bethel Buckaloo was a director whose bread and butter works with all cheap skin flicks, and with titles like Midnight Plowboy, The Pig Keeper's Daughter, and The Dirty Mind of Young Sally. Not porno films, but just like skin nudie films. In the late 1970s, he suddenly got the rather cynical idea of making a family-friendly film. Taking a script that was already a decade and a half old, so old in fact that the original writer was dead for quite some time before the script was adapted, and changing part of it for 1970s standards, but not quite good enough. In fact, this film feels like a 1950s juvie film. And filming it has My Boys Are Good Boys. The result is rather ghastly, although it does have some unintentional humor value for the hardcore bad movie masochists out there. Also those with young families too. Training the young masochists. Now, after getting sent to juvenile detention for robbing a liquor store, young hoodlum Tommy Morton decides to pay back his father for all the years of half-hearted devotion and tough love he gave him by framing him for a crime. The plan is simple. Tommy and his friends would sneak out of the detention facility, change their clothes with the help of Tommy's stepsister, then hijack the armored van that Tommy's father, who is the driver of the vehicle, drives for work. They knock them out with sleeping gas, of which they seem to have a near infinite supply of, not to mention a smoke grenade, before forcing them to resume their money pickups, only with the money going to the young crims. Pretty decent plan, huh? And of course they plan to be back in detention, having earned their pay without any prison staff noticing. And soon the plan pretty much goes off pretty well, despite a few hiccups. And once the boys are back in detention, well, they think they've pulled it off. But Morton Sr. isn't about to let his reputation go down without a fight. He gets his company's investigator, a pretty sly bloke, to investigate the robbery, as well as to uncover the hidden plot that one of the Morton family's most unlikely members is hatching to break up the family for good. Now, My Boys Are Good Boys is a somewhat clumsy attempt to make a family-friendly thriller, but the convoluted script was already too old for 1970s standards to work in properly. Remember, this script was written like at least 15 years before this, so maybe like at least the late 50s. It's like basically a juvie film. Not to mention that Buckaloo's idea of humor is probably one of the most daft I've seen for the 1970s. Those who have seen Buckaloo's earlier works will realize that the film is a cynical attempt at making a fast buck off tricking family viewers into watching something that it doesn't quite have their interests at heart. while those who haven't will be left scratching their heads over the question, what kind of audience was this junker exactly meant for? There are no family-friendly elements in this film at all, unless you count the idea of a gang of juvenile delinquents robbing an armored bank van, and the story is effectively obsolete. There is also a stupid attempt at a car chase here, which has some amusing sights as a cop car crashing into a flower shop, an SUV winning a motocross competition, and the hysterically funny sight of the motorcycle cop's face when he reacts to the sight of his bike being destroyed. It's hilarious. But but that being said, it's this while this film may not exactly be well family friendly, but I mean there's nothing explicit or anything like that. I'll talk about that later. In fact, this is you can pretty much watch it for give it to the family to watch, but the kids are just pretty scratching their heads. What the hell is this? That having been said, the only thing that keeps this flick from being a complete bad joke is the good acting from a couple of adult cast. David Doyle, who would a short time later become a household name in the original Charlie's Angels television series, plays the friendly juvenile guard who in the film's show-stopping moments takes exception to the authorities' treatment of his young charges by saying, "Everybody thinks that these boys are always wrong, but what about asking them? My boys are good boys." Another excellent turn comes from Lloyd Nolan, an actor who could always make even something as boring as reading from a dictionary look interesting given his talent, who plays a wily investigator. His effortless skill at picking apart the boys' cover stories, nailing them cold in their own game, is a particularly well-written piece of narrative. And this guy's smart, and he nails the boys just that easy, just like that. Now, the twist ending is utterly stupid and ridiculous, not to mention highly convoluted and not making sense for anyone who's been following the story so far. It's kind of a left field twist. Anyway. Now, for gore nudity, nothing on both counts here. This was meant to be a family-friendly feature, even though it doesn't feel like it. I mean, it's a 1970s attempt at 1950s juvie delinquent film? Weird. But at least you can let the kids watch this. It feels like a kid's film. Even for the director was known for his skin flicks. How's that for strange? Anyway. Now, this film isn't public domain, but there are prints of this on YouTube. In fact, a few moments before I recorded this video, I checked, and it's on YouTube, so look it up. And it's actually rated PG in America, by the way. I don't know what's rated here in Australia, but... Okay. So, My Boys Are Good Boys gets a D+, 3 out of 10. It's disappointingly mediocre, but it's kind of like a high level of bad, as in like a highly competent level of bad. Anyway, my next episode I'll start with the horror films reviews, but yeah, I just wanted to make this film review, and it's as a dedication to my friend Yul Marbuo. Rest in peace, sir. Okay, now I don't do requests, but if you have any questions about DVDs or films in general, hit me up in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer. Hope you guys are staying safe. Take it easy, and that's it for this review. See ya.